What if, instead of closing your eyes tonight, you could float softly into the solar system itself? Imagine drifting weightlessly, your body lighter than a whisper, while the familiar world beneath you fades into quiet distance. The stars are not rushing toward you. They are patient and still, waiting. The planets do not roar past. They turn slowly, like lanterns in a deep and endless sky. And you are simply carried along, as though the universe itself has placed a hand beneath you and promised safe passage. Hey guys, tonight we're beginning a calm journey through the solar system. We'll wander gently from the glowing heart of the sun to the icy edges of the Kuiper Belt, pausing along the way to notice the little wonders that often slip through thought during the busyness of the day. Nothing here is meant to hurry you or demand your focus. These are just quiet stories, one sleepy fact at a time, to keep your mind floating until sleep finds you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It helps others discover these calming explorations, one sleepy soul at a time. And if you feel like it, tell us your location and the time where you are right now. It's always wonderful to see the circle of listeners stretched across the earth, each of us gazing upward together. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. We start close to the sun, not in the fire of its surface, but in the music that it carries within. The sun is not silent. Though our ears cannot hear it, the star we circle is always ringing with vibrations, deep pressure waves that travel through its glowing layers. Imagine striking a vast, invisible drum, and the echo ripples out for millions of miles. These hidden rhythms reveal the structure of the sun's heart, the way it flows and stirs beneath its golden skin. Scientists call this heliosysmology, but tonight you can simply think of it as the sun humming a lullaby, steady and ancient, and always surrounding us. The sun's soft heartbeat is never in a rush. It is steady, patient, and impossibly old, pulsing with rhythms that have guided our solar system since its birth. You might imagine that the sun shines like a perfect light bulb, always the same. But in truth, it quivers, trembles, and sings with waves that move through its blazing body. These waves are not sound in the way we hear it, but they are pressure ripples like gentle thumps on a drum moving through hot plasma. Scientists listen to them by watching tiny shifts in the sun's light, translating those flickers into music. If you could hear it, it would be a chorus too deep for human ears, lower than any note on Earth, yet constant, wrapping all the planets in a subtle hum. And this hum is not just beautiful, it is revealing. Just as doctors use sound waves to see inside the body, astronomers use solar vibrations to peer into the sun's hidden interior. The waves show us currents that swirl beneath the surface, rivers of fire streaming slowly from equator to pole. They also reveal layers of astonishing heat, a core burning at over 15 million degrees, where hydrogen is pressed so tightly it fuses into helium, releasing energy that will shine for billions of years. Each beat of the sun's core is like a slow exhale, drifting outward as light and warmth. The rhythm of the sun changes with time. Every 11 years, its magnetic heartbeat flips, north becoming south and south becoming north. With that cycle, the sun grows restless, peppering its surface with dark sunspots and flaring with bursts of radiation. And then it quiets again, like a tide retreating from the shore. These cycles remind us that even the most constant star is alive with change. It is humbling to realize that almost everything you see and touch is powered by this single rhythm. The warmth of morning on your skin, the green of forests, the shimmer of oceans all trace their origin to vibrations in the sun's heart. Even you, lying here tonight, resting, are a child of its ancient fire. The atoms in your blood were carried to earth by its light, fed by its warmth, and shaped into life by its gentle persistence. And so, As you drift, you can think of the sun not as a raging fireball, but as a calm, breathing presence. Its heartbeat is slow, too slow to disturb your sleep, but constant enough to cradle you in its glow. Like a candle in an endless night, it burns quietly, offering warmth without asking for anything in return. Mercury is a world of extremes, yet its silence is absolute. Imagine drifting closer to this small, quick planet, the closest to the sun, and finding not the roar of fire, but the stillness of a place with almost no air to carry sound. Mercury has no thick blanket of atmosphere, no winds to whisper, no clouds to shift overhead. Instead, it is wrapped in a ghostly exosphere, so thin that atoms float like faint dust before escaping into space. It is as if Mercury breathes only in sighs too quiet for human ears. Its presence more like a shadow than a voice. By day, the sun blazes down with unforgiving heat. Surface temperatures soar to over 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. But when night falls, the absence of atmosphere allows that heat to vanish into the void, plunging Mercury's surface into deep cold, colder even than Antarctica. The planet lives in constant extremes, searing fire and bitter ice. Yet it holds this balance with quiet endurance. No storms sweep its surface. No oceans surge against its rocks. Just stillness, broken only by the occasional impact of a meteorite. And yet, in its silence, Mercury hides a secret: ice. At its poles, deep within craters that never see sunlight, water ice lingers in eternal shadow. These craters act as natural freezers, preserving bright patches of frozen water for millions of years. Imagine walking in that darkness, the ground glittering faintly with frost, a paradox of ice on a planet scorched by the sunday. It is a reminder that even in the harshest places, coolness and calm can survive. Mercury's surface itself is scarred with ancient marks, vast cliffs called scarps, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. They formed as the planet cooled and shrank, its crust wrinkling like the skin of a dried fruit. Each scarp is a frozen sigh from Mercury's long history, evidence of a restless youth that has since quieted into stillness. And perhaps most fascinating is Mercury's oversized heart. Beneath its thin, rocky shell lies an immense iron core, far larger in proportion than Earth's. This metallic heart makes up most of the planet's interior, as though Mercury is more metal than stone. Some scientists believe this core is what remains after violent impacts stripped away its outer layers. Others suggest Mercury formed in a way that favored heavy elements from the start. Either way, the result is a planet small in size but dense in spirit, carrying the weight of an iron heart through the silence of space. So tonight, as you imagine Mercury, you can picture it as a lonely traveler, swift in orbit, whispering through the sunlight, wrapped in a ghostly veil. It is neither friendly nor hostile, just still, keeping its secrets in craters of shadow and scars of stone. And in its silence, it offers you something rare: a pause, a breath, a chance to drift deeper into quiet rest. Venus turns slowly, almost reluctantly, as if time itself hesitates on its surface. Imagine a planet where a single day lasts longer than an entire year. On Venus, it takes 243 Earth days for one full rotation, yet only 225 days to orbit the Sunday. And as if that weren't enough, it spins backward east, becomes west. Sunrise comes in the west and drifts down in the east. This strange rhythm gives Venus the feel of a world caught in a dream, moving to its own slow, reversed heartbeat. But Venus is no gentle dream. Beneath its golden clouds lies an atmosphere thicker and heavier than any other among the rocky planets. The pressure on the surface is crushing, like standing a mile deep beneath an ocean. Temperatures exceed 460 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, making Venus the hottest planet in the solar system, even though it is farther from the Sun than Mercury. This relentless heat is born from a runaway greenhouse effect. Carbon dioxide dominates its skies, trapping sunlight and wrapping the planet in a permanent fever. Its clouds, rich with sulfuric acid, reflect sunlight back into space, giving Venus its brilliant shine as the morning star. But they also seal in the heat, ensuring the furnace never cools. And yet, for all its harshness, Venus is mesmerizing. Its cloud tops swirl in eternal motion, driven by winds that rush faster than hurricanes on Earth. At high altitudes, the winds can circle the planet in just a few days, even though the surface crawls in slow rotation. This strange layering calm below, furious above, creates a paradox of movement, as if the planet's spirit and body live at different speeds. Scientists believe Venus may once have been far more familiar. Billions of years ago, oceans could have shimmered across its surface, reflecting sunlight just as Earth's seas do today. But without a magnetic shield to protect it from the solar wind, Venus lost lighter gases and water molecules to space. What remained was heavy carbon dioxide, thickening the atmosphere until the oceans boiled away. It is a haunting thought that Venus may once have been Earth's twin, before diverging into a fiery solitude. And still, even in its extremes, Venus offers beauty. Its glow is so bright it can cast faint shadows at night on Earth. Ancient civilizations saw it as a goddess, a bringer of love, of war, of mystery. Poets and stargazers traced their hopes to its rising and setting, never knowing that beneath its brilliance, the world was smoldering. Tonight, you can think of Venus as a reminder of time's strangeness. A day longer than a year, a planet spinning against the current, a world both dazzling and dangerous. As you drift deeper into rest, imagine its golden veil stretched endlessly, turning slowly, patiently, under a sun that never sets in quite the same way. In its slow rhythm, Venus asks you to let go of hurry, to sink into stillness, and to let your breath move as softly as its hidden glowing skies. Earth is not just where you live, it is a cradle that rocks life gently through the ages. Unlike Mercury's silence or Venus's furnace, Earth is balanced, a place where oceans move, skies breathe, and land reshapes itself slowly over time. What makes Earth so remarkable is not only its beauty, but its dynamism, the way it refuses to stay still. Beneath your feet, vast plates of rock drift and collide, splitting continents and raising mountains. This process, called plate tectonics, is unique among the planets we know. It is Earth's way of recycling itself, of keeping its surface alive, always renewing, always changing. Without this motion, Earth might be geologically silent, like Mars or the Moon. Instead, our world shudders with quiet energy, as if it were breathing beneath the crust. And then there is water. Nowhere else in the solar system does water exist in all three forms, solid, liquid, and gas, spread so freely across the surface. You can find it frozen into polar ice caps, flowing in rivers and seas, and floating above as drifting clouds. This cycle of water rising, falling, freezing, melting, is the heartbeat of life itself. It regulates the climate, carves the land, and fills the air with moisture. Every sip you take is ancient, recycled countless times by this planet-wide rhythm, a dance of oceans and skies that has gone on for billions of years. Earth also sings in its own quiet way. Its molten iron core spins deep within, generating a magnetic field that wraps the planet like a protective cocoon. This shield deflects the solar wind, the stream of particles flowing from the sun, keeping our atmosphere from being stripped away. And when those charged particles slip through near the poles, They meet our air and paint the sky with aurora's green and red curtains of light shimmering silently, a nightly reminder that space is alive around us. No less wondrous is the simple fact of Earth's density. It is the heaviest of the planets when measured by how much mass is packed into each cubic centimeter. This compact structure gives gravity its strength here, binding air, water, and life close to the surface. In the quiet of night, as you lie resting, you can think of that unseen pull the way Earth's gravity is always holding you gently, never letting go. It is a constant embrace, steady and sure. Earth is also home to endless variety. Deserts shimmer with heat, mountains pierce the clouds, forests whisper with wind, and oceans roll with waves that have never ceased since the first rains fell. It is not one world, but many woven together into a single globe, and all of it turns on an axis tilted just enough to give us seasons, warm summers, quiet winters, springs of renewal, and autumns of gentle fading. This tilt is subtle but profound, shaping every harvest, every migration, every rhythm of life. As you drift further into rest, imagine Earth not as ordinary, but as astonishing. It is the rarest of cradles, balancing fire and water, gravity and breath, silence and song. No matter how far your thoughts wander through space tonight, you can always return to this world, this home, where tides rise and fall, seasons turn, and life continues in endless cycles of renewal. Earth is your anchor, your shelter, your quiet cradle in the vastness of the solar system. The moon is Earth's quiet companion, circling us with a steady rhythm that has lasted for billions of years. Compared to its host planet, it is unusually large, so large in fact, that the Earth and moon together are sometimes thought of as a double world. This closeness is more than just visual beauty. It is a relationship that shapes our tides, our days, and even the stability of our climate. Imagine lying beside an ocean shore. The waves that rise and fall are not just water moving with the wind. They are the moon's gentle tug pulling on the seas, rocking them like a cradle. Every night, the moon's glow reminds us of time itself, its phases waxing crescent, full, waning gibbous mark, a cycle that has guided farmers, travelers, and dreamers throughout human history. Long before clocks or calendars, people looked upward to follow the moon's changes. And even now, with our modern world full of glowing screens, its quiet light still feels ancient, untouched, and steady. The moon is scarred and silent, with no air to carry sound and no wind to erase its history. Every crater is a memory, every ridge a mark of time. Even the footprints left by astronauts remain, unchanged, preserved in dust for thousands of years to come. This stillness is profound. On Earth, rain, rivers, and plants erase the past. On the moon, time simply pauses. It is a world of permanence, keeping secrets in its grey soil and frozen shadows. And yet, the moon is not entirely lifeless. It trembles occasionally, with moonquakes' subtle vibrations caused by Earth's pull, by the heat of sunlight expanding its crust, or by the impact of drifting rocks. These quakes are faint, lasting longer than quakes on Earth, but they remind us that the moon is not a frozen rock, but a body still alive with quiet motion. There is also mystery in its origin. Most scientists believe the moon was born from a colossal collision, when a Mars-sized body struck young Earth and threw molten fragments into orbit. Over time, those fragments gathered into a single sphere, our moon. It has orbited us ever since, a constant partner born of violence, but now offering calm. And though it feels eternal, the moon is slowly moving away about 4 centimeters farther from Earth each year. In the distant future, eclipses will fade, and the moon will drift too far to cover the sun fully. Even this faithful companion changes, but on timescales so vast that its constancy feels absolute to us. So tonight, as you think of the moon, you can imagine its gentle pull not only on the oceans, but on you as well, tugging softly at your thoughts, lulling you with cycles older than memory. It is a lantern, a clock, a cradle, and a silent witness. And just as the seas rise and fall to its rhythm, so too can your breath follow its tide, in and out, calm and steady, until sleep carries you the way the moon carries the oceans. Mars drifts through the night like a rusty ember, its faint red glow visible even to the naked eye. For centuries, people imagined it as a place of war, a restless wanderer named after gods of conflict. But when you look more closely, Mars feels less like a warrior and more like an ancient, weary traveler, scarred, dusty, and silent, but still full of stories waiting to be told. One of its greatest stories is written in size itself. Rising above its plains is Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system. At nearly 22 kilometers high, it towers almost 3 times taller than Mount Everest, and it is so wide it could cover the entire state of New Mexico. This giant grew over countless eruptions in the same spot, because unlike Earth, Mars has no plate tectonics to move its crust. Imagine a mountain so large that it curves with the planet, its slopes stretching out gently for hundreds of kilometers. It is less a peak and more a world unto itself, a silent monument to ancient fire. Not far from this volcanic colossus lies another wonder, Valles Marineris, a canyon system stretching more than 4,000 kilometers across the Martian equator. It is a scar the size of a continent, 5 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. Scientists believe it formed through a mix of tectonic stretching, volcanic forces, and erosion. But what it reveals most of all is violence frozen in time. The canyon is so immense that if you stood at its edge, the horizon would curve away before the opposite side came into view. It is a chasm, not only in rock but in memory, a reminder of a planet that once tore itself apart. And Mars is far from still. Its thin, fragile atmosphere cannot hold back the sun's warmth, and so the planet swings between extremes of heat and cold. But what it lacks in oceans or rain, it makes up for with dust so fine it clings to every surface, dust that can be swept into storms circling the entire globe. These planet-wide storms can last for weeks, blotting out the sun and painting the skies with a rusty haze. In 2018, such a storm brought an end to the Opportunity rover's mission, its solar panels choked with dust until silence fell. These storms remind us that Mars, though dry and quiet, still breathes in its own way, exhaling clouds of fine red powder that wrap the world in mystery. Yet even amid this harshness, Mars hints at gentler truths. At its poles, bright caps of water ice rest beneath layers of frozen carbon dioxide, growing and shrinking with the seasons. Yes, Mars has seasons, tilted on its axis, much like Earth. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter pass slowly there, stretching nearly twice as long as ours. These cycles carve patterns into the polar ice, a rhythm of growth and retreat that echoes Earth's own breathing. And so Mars, for all its scars and storms, feels strangely familiar. It is barren but not dead, hostile but not hopeless. It carries the memory of fire in its volcanoes, the trace of water in its canyons, the whisper of change in its dust storms. Tonight, as you drift deeper into sleep, you can picture Mars not as a battlefield of gods, but as a quiet desert world, its giants standing watch, its winds carrying red dust across endless plains, its silence wrapping you like the stillness of a dream. Between Mars and Jupiter drifts a wide band of fragments, a realm we call the asteroid belt. Many imagine it as a crowded gauntlet, rocks colliding and brushing past one another in constant chaos. But in truth, the belt is mostly emptiness, vast distances of silence, with lonely stones drifting quietly in the dark. If you sailed through it in a spacecraft, you would almost certainly see nothing at all. The asteroids are spread so thinly that they resemble a scattered lullaby of stone, a soft choir of ancient echoes left over from the birth of the solar system. Each asteroid is a time capsule. Most are fragments of rock and metal that never fused into a planet, reminders of an early solar system where collisions were constant and fierce. Their surfaces are scarred, jagged, and weathered by billions of years of cosmic exposure, and yet some are stranger still. A few are rubble piles, loose clusters of boulders and dust, held together only by gravity, so fragile that a strong push might scatter them. Others, like Vesta, are complex enough to have layers, a crust, a mantle, even a core like miniature planets that never quite completed their story. The belt also holds the largest object between Mars and Jupiter, Ceres. Though small, Ceres is massive enough to be called a dwarf planet. When spacecraft drew near, they found bright spots gleaming on its surface, patches of salt left behind from evaporating brines. Imagine staring at that distant, quiet world, watching sunlight glint off hidden ice, as though Ceres were whispering reminders that water once flowed there. It feels like a lullaby hummed from the deep past, gentle and enduring. And asteroids are not always solitary. Some have moons, tiny companions, bound by gravity, to circle their parent rocks. The first discovered, Dactyl, was found orbiting the asteroid Ida, a delicate speck keeping pace with a larger stone. In other cases, pairs of asteroids orbit each other in slow, drifting dances. Even in the emptiness, gravity draws partners together, showing that companionship is not reserved for great planets but belongs also to the smallest wanderers. From Earth, we sometimes glimpse these wanderers when they fall toward us as shooting stars. Most burn harmlessly in the atmosphere, streaking across the night in flashes of light. Occasionally, larger fragments reach the ground as meteorite stones from the belt that carry messages from long ago. Some of these meteorites even reveal traces of water or organic molecules, sparking questions about whether asteroids delivered the ingredients of life itself to our young planet. So the asteroid belt is not chaos. It is quiet memory, scattered across a vast expanse, humming with secrets of what almost was and what might still be. As you drift deeper into sleep, you can imagine yourself floating through this belt of stones, passing by Ceres with its shining spots, gliding past rubble piles held together like fragile nests, watching pairs of asteroids dance in their slow orbits. Nothing collides, nothing rushes, just silence, emptiness, and the lullaby of small worlds rocking gently in the dark. Jupiter rises in the imagination like a vast lantern, glowing with its own hidden heat. Unlike the rocky worlds we've visited so far, this is not a place of solid ground, but of endless clouds, bands of color stretching across a planet so massive it could swallow more than 1,000 Earths. And though it reflects sunlight, Jupiter also shines faintly from within. Leftover heat from its birth still radiates outward, giving the giant a quiet inner glow, like embers that never cooled. As you drift closer in thought, you see those glowing bands twist with storms. The most famous of them all is the Great Red Spot, a hurricane so large it could engulf 2 or 3 Earths side by side. This storm has raged for centuries, perhaps even millennia, shrinking and shifting but never ceasing. Imagine a tempest so vast that generations of astronomers have watched it spin, their lives passing like seconds compared to its persistence. Jupiter's storms are not brief interruptions. They are part of the planet's heartbeat, steady, powerful, and endlessly turning. But Jupiter is more than storms. It is wrapped in a magnetic field so immense that it creates the largest structure in the solar system, the magnetosphere, stretching millions of kilometers into space. Within it, belts of radiation swirl, dangerous enough to destroy unprotected spacecraft. And yet, from this invisible power comes beauty. Charged particles crash into Jupiter's atmosphere, sparking auroras brighter and larger than any on Earth, glowing in constant ovals around its poles. If you could stand at a safe distance, you would see the giant lantern flicker not only with storms, but also with curtains of light shimmering in silence. Orbiting this glowing world are moons that feel like worlds of their own. Io, covered in volcanoes, reshapes itself constantly. Europa may hide an ocean beneath ice, whispering of possible life. Ganymede, larger than Mercury, carries its own magnetic field. Callisto, battered and ancient, may also hold a hidden sea. Together they form a miniature solar system, bound to their lantern's gravity, glowing faintly in reflected light. Each one is a story waiting to be told, and together they make Jupiter feel less like a planet and more like a kingdom. And though Jupiter is immense, it has rings of its own faint, dusty bands, invisible to the eye, without help. They are not as bright as Saturn's, but they remind us that beauty is often subtle, hidden in shadows until you know to look. As you think of Jupiter tonight, imagine not chaos, but radiance. A world too large to ignore, glowing softly, spinning calmly, keeping its storms and auroras alive without pause. It is a lantern not only for its moons, but for the imagination. A reminder that even in the cold reaches of space, warmth lingers, light endures, and wonder glows quietly, waiting for us to notice. When Galileo first lifted his telescope to Jupiter in 1610, he discovered something astonishing: 4 bright points of light orbiting the giant. These moons Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto are now known as the Galilean moons, and each one is a world with its own story. Together, they are like a family of dreamers circling a vast lantern, each whispering in a different voice. Io is the restless child. It is the most volcanic world in the solar system, its surface constantly reshaped by fountains of molten rock and sulfur. Imagine plumes of lava rising hundreds of kilometers into space, painting the air with fiery colors before falling back onto a surface already scarred and renewed. Io is in constant turmoil, stretched and squeezed by Jupiter's gravity and the pull of its sibling moons. Yet even this violent restlessness feels dreamlike when viewed from afar, a world glowing softly in hues of yellow and red, forever remaking itself in silence. Europa, in contrast, is a quiet ocean sealed in ice. Its smooth surface, streaked with dark lines, hints at something hidden below, a vast ocean warmed by tidal heating. Beneath the ice may lie more water than all of Earth's seas combined, a dark, salty expanse that has been kept liquid for billions of years. And within that sea, some scientists believe, life may drift in shadows, simple organisms, warmed by vents at the ocean floor, much like those found in Earth's deep seas. Imagine that ocean as a dream locked away, waiting patiently under ice for the right eyes to discover it. Then comes Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, bigger even than Mercury. It is the only moon known to generate its own magnetic field. This shield paints auroras in its thin atmosphere, shimmering lights on a frozen world. Beneath its icy shell may be stacked oceans, layer upon layer of water and ice, like pages in a cosmic book. Ganymede is both ancient and alive, carrying scars from impacts but glowing faintly with hidden currents deep below. Callisto is the oldest sibling, dark and cratered, a surface unchanged for billions of years. It is a silent world, pocked with scars that trace back to the earliest days of the solar system. And yet, even Callisto may hide an ocean beneath its crust, a sea sealed under ancient ice, holding secrets despite the quiet stillness of its face. Together, these moons form a gallery of possibilities: fire, water, light, and silence. They show us that moons are not just satellites but worlds, each with a story as rich as any planet. Around Jupiter, the Galilean moons orbit in harmony, pulled into resonant rhythms that keep their dance precise, like notes in a cosmic lullaby. Tonight, you can picture them as four lanterns glowing beside a greater one. Io burns, Europa hides, Ganymede hums, Callisto remembers, and all of them turn slowly through the night. Companions in orbit, dreamers in the deep. As you drift further into rest, let their stories drift with you, dreams of fire, oceans, auroras, and timeless silence softly circling in endless sleep around their vast and glowing lantern. Saturn floats in the imagination like a dream draped in silk. From a distance, it appears serene, a pale golden sphere wrapped in shimmering rings. These rings stretch more than 280,000 kilometers across, yet in most places, they are no thicker than a city block, astonishingly thin, delicate, and nearly invisible when turned edge-on. Made mostly of water ice, their countless fragments sparkle as they catch sunlight, like frozen dust suspended in a cosmic spotlight. But these rings are not eternal. They are slowly falling, pulled toward Saturn by its gravity and magnetic field in a gentle rain of ice. Astronomers call it ring rain, and it means that the veil we admire today is temporary. Perhaps within a few 100 million years, Saturn's rings will vanish, leaving only the memory of their shimmer. To us, though, in this fleeting human moment, they appear timeless, an eternal halo framing a world too beautiful to forget. And Saturn itself is no less strange. Its density is so low that if you could place it in a vast cosmic ocean, it would float. Beneath its calm clouds lies a world of hydrogen and helium compressed into exotic forms as pressure builds. Deeper still, lightning storms rage in clouds of ammonia and water, striking with power greater than any on Earth. And yet, from afar, Saturn appears tranquil, as if hiding its turbulence behind a golden mask. At the North Pole lies one of the solar system's great mysteries, a storm shaped like a hexagon. This six-sided jet stream, wider than Earth, spins steadily in the atmosphere, defying expectations. Scientists have recreated hexagonal flows in laboratory tanks, but the scale of Saturn's version is breathtaking. To imagine a planet shaping geometry into its clouds is to see art written in air, a surreal reminder of nature's elegance. And Saturn, like Jupiter, is not alone. More than 80 moons orbit this world, each with its own tale. Titan, with its lakes of methane and thick orange sky, feels like a frozen version of Earth. Tiny Pan and Daphnis sweep paths through the rings, shepherding particles into narrow arcs. Enceladus sprays water vapor from its icy crust, feeding the faint outer rings. Together, these moons transform Saturn into not just a planet but a system, a realm of many worlds held within a shimmering veil. Tonight, as you picture Saturn, imagine drifting alongside its rings, the ice shining like countless diamonds beneath your gaze. See the golden planet turn slowly, its hexagonal storm spinning endlessly, its moons circling in quiet arcs. Let the shimmer calm you, let the veil surround you, and let the thought linger. Beauty, even when temporary, can feel eternal in the moment. Saturn is a dream you can return to whenever you close your eyes, its shimmering veil waiting to soothe you into sleep. Enceladus is small, barely 500 kilometers across, yet it carries within it one of the most astonishing secrets of the solar system. Imagine drifting near this tiny moon of Saturn and seeing its icy surface gleam like polished porcelain. At first, it might seem lifeless, a frozen marble caught in the pull of a giant planet. But then, from its south pole, you notice fountains, towering geysers of water vapor, and ice crystals erupting into space, shimmering like snow blown from below. Enceladus breathes. These geysers are not mere bursts of frost. They rise hundreds of kilometers into the vacuum, spraying fine jets of water, salts, and organic molecules. Some of the material falls back, coating the moon in fresh snow. Some escape Saturn's grip entirely, and some drifts into orbit, replenishing Saturn's faint E-ring, weaving Enceladus into its planet's veil. Imagine that one moon, quietly feeding the beauty of an entire ring system, like a child humming softly in a choir and changing the song. Beneath the surface lies the source of this magic, a hidden ocean of liquid water. Kept warm by tidal forces, Saturn's gravity, stretching and flexing. Enceladus's core, the ocean presses upward through cracks in the ice known as tiger stripes. The friction of this constant tug-of-war generates heat, enough to keep water liquid even in the frigid outer solar system. Scientists studying the plumes have found not only water, but evidence of hydrothermal activity, hot, mineral, rich vents, like those on Earth's ocean floor, where life thrives without sunlight. To think of Enceladus is to think of possibility. Could tiny forms of life exist in its ocean, sheltered in warmth, feeding on minerals carried by rising water? No one knows yet. But the ingredients are there: water, heat, and organic compounds. And in the silence of its snowy eruptions, Enceladus reminds us that even small, unassuming worlds may hold vast, hidden wonders. Its surface tells stories too. Unlike the battered face of Callisto or our own moon, Enceladus is smooth and bright, resurfaced again and again by fresh ice from below. This brightness makes it one of the most reflective objects in the solar system, bouncing sunlight like a cosmic mirror. From afar, it shines so strongly that it looks like a fragment of pure light orbiting Saturn. So tonight, as you rest, you can picture Enceladus not as a distant rock, but as a living fountain, its plumes of snow drifting softly into the void, glittering like frozen breath. Imagine floating through those geysers, your thoughts carried upward in icy mist, scattering into rings and falling back as gentle flakes. It is a world that snows from within, a reminder that life's quietest secrets are sometimes hidden in the smallest places. Uranus drifts through space like a sideways sleepwalker. Unlike every other planet that spins upright or slightly tilted, Uranus is tipped almost completely onto its side. Its axis leans at 98 degrees, so it doesn't spin like a top. It rolls around the sun like a ball on its side. This means its poles, not its equator, take turns facing the Sunday. For 42 years at a time, one hemisphere is bathed in constant daylight, while the other rests in long darkness. Imagine living in a place where an entire season lasts half a lifetime, where summer means decades of sunlight, and winter decades of night. Its unusual tilt likely came from a massive collision long ago, when a world-sized object slammed into Uranus and knocked it over. But instead of breaking apart, Uranus kept rolling, carrying its strange rhythm forward through billions of years. It is a planet that seems perpetually drowsy, leaning and turning slowly in a cosmic sleep. From a distance, Uranus looks serene, a pale blue-green sphere, calm and featureless. Yet beneath this tranquil appearance lies an atmosphere of hydrogen, helium, and methane. The methane absorbs red light and scatters blue, giving Uranus its cool hue. And within its clouds, faint storms and winds stir, though less dramatic than those on Jupiter or Neptune. It is a world that keeps its secrets quiet, hiding turbulence beneath a soft pastel mask. Uranus also wears rings 13 known, faint and dark, unlike Saturn's shining veil. These rings are narrow and sharp-edged, perhaps shaped by small shepherd moons. They were only discovered in 1977, when Uranus passed in front of a distant star and its light dimmed in bands. It was as if the planet whispered its hidden jewelry only to those watching carefully at the right moment. And Uranus has moons, 227, that we know of many, named after characters from Shakespeare and Alexander Pope. Miranda, one of the strangest, looks like it was shattered and pieced back together, its surface scarred with giant cliffs and mismatched terrain. Others, like Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, and Oberon, circle in the tilted plane, caught in the planet's sideways roll. Together, they make Uranus feel less lonely, companions orbiting a quiet wanderer. What makes Uranus most dreamlike is its distance. It is faint, hard to see without a telescope, almost shy in its presence. For centuries, it hid among the stars until 1781, when William Herschel discovered it by chance. In that moment, the solar system grew larger, and humanity realized there were still worlds waiting quietly in the dark, unnoticed until the right eyes looked their way. Tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, think of Uranus as that sideways sleepwalker rolling gently, cloaked in blue-green light, carrying its rings and moons like soft companions. It does not demand attention. It does not blaze with storms or fire. It simply turns, tilted and patient, reminding you that even the strangest paths can be steady, even the quietest worlds can endure. Neptune is the farthest known planet, a deep blue sentinel at the edge of the solar system. From Earth, it appears as a tiny, faint dot in telescopes, but up close, it is a world of astonishing power wrapped in beauty. Its color comes from methane in its atmosphere, scattering sunlight into shades of indigo and sapphire. To gaze upon Neptune is to look into an ocean that has no shore, a rolling sea of clouds suspended in the blackness of space. Yet beneath that calm blue lies motion winds that are the fastest in the solar system. They race through Neptune's upper atmosphere at more than 2,000 kilometers per hour, faster than the speed of sound on Earth. Imagine currents so strong that they could circle the planet in mere hours, carving patterns into the pale clouds. Storms rise and fade with astonishing speed. In 1989, Voyager 2 captured images of a colossal storm called the Great Dark Spot, a vortex the size of Earth. A few years later, it was gone, replaced by new tempests, as if Neptune's weather were a restless dream that never repeats itself. And Neptune, like Jupiter and Saturn, radiates more energy than it receives from the Sunday. Despite its distance nearly 30 times farther than Earth, the planet glows with internal heat, a leftover from its formation. This warmth may drive its furious winds and turbulent weather. To imagine Neptune is to imagine a paradox, a frozen exterior, masking a restless, energetic heart. Its rings, faint and dusty, circle the planet like subtle strokes of charcoal on blue paper. They are clumpy, uneven, and fragile, held together by small shepherd moons that guide them in place. Beyond them, Neptune's moons drift in their own quiet rhythms. The largest, Triton, orbits backward retrograde, suggesting it was captured long ago from the Kuiper Belt. Triton is active too, with geysers that spray icy plumes into its thin atmosphere, marking it as one of the strangest and most mysterious companions in the solar system. Neptune itself was not discovered by accident, but by mathematics. Astronomers noticed Uranus's orbit drifting slightly, as though tugged by something unseen. Using those deviations, two mathematicians predicted where the hidden planet must be. When telescopes turned to that spot in 1846, Neptune was there. It was a triumph of reason, proof that unseen forces could reveal unseen worlds. Tonight, as you drift into deeper calm, picture Neptune not as cold or violent, but as a great ocean of sky. Hear its winds not as roaring storms, but as a steady rush, like waves moving endlessly across a midnight sea. Imagine its blue glow shimmering faintly, steady at the edge of the sun's reach, keeping watch in silence. Neptune is a reminder that even at the farthest distance, beauty endures, and even the fastest winds can sound like lullabies when carried into sleep. Far beyond Neptune, In the dim reaches of the solar system, smaller worlds drift in cold silence. These are the distant companions Pluto, Eris, Haumea, Makemake, and others icy bodies orbiting slowly at the edge of sunlight. They are faint, often invisible to the naked eye, yet each one carries a story of survival, of endurance in the deep. Together, they form a hidden family, tiny lanterns glowing dimly in the cosmic night. Pluto, once called the ninth planet, is the most famous of them. For decades, it captured imaginations as a mysterious outpost until its reclassification as a dwarf planet reminded us that labels can change while beauty remains. When the New Horizons spacecraft flew past in 2015, it revealed a world of unexpected detail, a bright, heart-shaped plain called Sputnik Planitia, mountains of water ice, and skies tinged with blue haze. Beneath that icy heart may lie a slushy ocean, kept liquid by heat and pressure far below. Imagine an ocean sealed in darkness for billions of years, moving gently beneath ice like a hidden dream. Triton, Neptune's largest moon, shares this strange category of worlds. It orbits backward, captured from the Kuiper Belt long ago, and even now it breathes through cryovolcanoes, plumes of nitrogen that spray into space and fall back as delicate frost. Its surface is marked by ridges and plains, shapes that seem carved by patient hands of ice. To drift over Triton is to see a world in reverse, a companion that chose its own path against the planet it circles. Eris, farther still, is heavier than Pluto and nearly as large. It shines coldly, so distant that sunlight there is a faint echo. Haumea spins so rapidly that it stretches into an oval, with icy rings and surface streaks like brushstrokes across glass. Makemake reflects light with a reddish glow, reminding us that even at the edge of the solar system, color and variety endure. These worlds orbit slowly, their years stretching across centuries. From their distance, the sun is no longer a blazing star, but a bright point of light closer to how we see the evening star than to how we feel its warmth on Earth. And yet, even in this remoteness, they remain bound to the same sun, circling patiently in their frozen loops. Tonight, as you imagine these companions, think of them as guardians of memory. They are relics of the early solar system, fragments left untouched by time, whispering of the chaos that once filled these spaces. They remind us that not all journeys lead to brightness. Some drift into shadow and stay there, dim but enduring. And just as you settle into sleep, you can imagine Pluto's heart glowing faintly, Triton's geysers rising quietly, and the far companions keeping watch at the boundary of the known silent, distant, and timeless. Beyond Pluto and its neighbors stretches the Kuiper Belt, a vast ring of icy worlds circling the sun like a quiet choir. It is not a dense crowd of bodies colliding, but a wide, cold expanse where fragments of the solar system's earliest days still linger. Each object, some round like dwarf planets, others irregular and tumbling, is a note in this frozen harmony, drifting in patient orbits that take centuries to complete. To imagine the Kuiper Belt is to picture a grand circle of faint lanterns, their voices soft, their song eternal. Some of these worlds shine more brightly than others. Haumea, elongated by its rapid spin, reflects sunlight with an icy sheen. Eris gleams at the edge of visibility, its surface coated with frozen nitrogen and methane. Makemake glows faintly red, touched by organic compounds. And then there is Haumea's faint ring, the first discovered around a distant dwarf planet, adding texture to the Kuiper's ensemble. Each body is like an instrument, unique in tone, yet together forming the quiet chords of the outer solar system. The Kuiper Belt is also where comets are born. Long-period travelers that sweep into the inner system with glowing tails often begin their journey here, dislodged by subtle tugs of gravity. Some return after centuries, others vanish into the dark, leaving only a brief flare of beauty behind. They are the choir's soaring notes, sudden and luminous, before fading back into silence. And the belt holds more than beauty, it holds history. The materials locked within these icy bodies are ancient, largely unchanged since the solar system formed 4.6 billion years ago. They are fossils of creation, frozen records of the dust and gas that once swirled around the newborn Sunday. To study them is to listen to the first verses of the solar system's song, preserved across time. From Earth, the Kuiper Belt is invisible to the naked eye. It was only in the late 20th century that astronomers confirmed its existence, revealing that Pluto was not alone, but one of many. Suddenly, the solar system felt larger, more populated, more intricate. The quiet choir had been there all along, singing at the edge of hearing, waiting for us to notice. Tonight, as you rest, imagine floating through this frozen chorus. The stars are brighter here, the sun a small, distant glow. Around you drift countless icy worlds, each turning silently, each carrying a voice in the cold harmony of space. Some shimmer like mirrors, reflecting sunlight into the dark. Others spin slowly, rough and jagged. Together, they sing not with sound but with presence, an endless lullaby of ancient ice. The Kuiper Belt is not a place of drama, but of stillness, of frozen endurance and quiet companionship. It is a choir that never ends, a song that does not seek applause, only to exist. And as you drift deeper into sleep, you can let its harmony surround you, a soft chorus from the edge of the sun's domain, singing you gently into dreams. Far beyond the Kuiper Belt lies a realm so distant and so faint that no telescope has yet seen it directly. This is the Oort cloud, a vast halo of icy bodies thought to surround the solar system like a fragile bubble. Imagine a sphere of frozen fragments, extending nearly a light year from the sun, so far that our star appears only as a bright spark in the dark. These countless icy wanderers drift in silence, bound only loosely by gravity, waiting for some distant tug to send them inward on long, luminous journeys. The Oort cloud is the birthplace of long-period comets, the ones that appear in Earth's skies only once every few thousand years. When a passing star or a subtle pull from the galaxy nudges one of these icy bodies, it begins a slow fall toward the Sunday. For millions of years it drifts inward, until finally, in the inner solar system, sunlight wakes it, and a glowing tail unfurls across the night sky. These comets are the Oort cloud's gifts, rare notes of brilliance in an otherwise hidden symphony. Though invisible, the Oort cloud is immense. It may contain trillions of icy objects, leftovers from the early solar system, flung outward by the giant planets during their migrations. Some are as small as pebbles, others as large as mountains, all frozen relics of creation. They drift so far from the sun that they feel the pull of the galaxy itself, balanced between belonging to our star and being lost to the wider cosmos. The edge of the Oort cloud is where the solar system's gravity fades into the interstellar sea, a true frontier. To picture it is to imagine a snowy fog stretched across unimaginable distances. Each icy body reflects just a glimmer of light, so faint that even the most powerful telescopes cannot yet catch them. And yet, their presence is written in the paths of comets, in the orbits that speak of a vast reservoir beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, beyond even the Kuiper Belt's cold choir. For now, the Oort cloud remains a dream, a concept more than a sight. But it is a comforting dream, a halo of guardians at the edge of the sun's influence. They circle us unseen, their silence complete, their patience infinite. Some will never stir. Some will one day blaze across our sky, reminding us that the solar system is larger and older than we can easily imagine. Tonight, as you sink further into calm, think of the Oort cloud as a blanket stretched around the solar system, soft and endless. Imagine its frozen guardians drifting in perfect quiet, each one a lullaby of ice, each one a reminder that even at the farthest distances, we are not alone. The halo holds us gently, and in its embrace, you can rest, carried by the stillness of the farthest frontier. Light is the gentlest traveler, yet even it needs time. When you feel the sun's warmth on your skin, you are not touching the present, but the past. The light that reaches you began its journey in the sun's core hundreds of thousands of years ago, created by nuclear fusion, where hydrogen atoms fuse into helium. Each photon of light then bounced and scattered through the dense layers of plasma, slowed by countless collisions, drifting outward like a traveler lost in fog. Only when it reached the surface did its path become free, streaming across space at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second. From there, it took just over 8 minutes to cover the 150 million kilometers between the Sun and Earth. 8 minutes may feel small, but it is profound. Every sunrise you see is already a memory. The light that brightens a morning sky left the sun minutes before you awoke. And when you gaze at the stars, the delay stretches into years, centuries, millennia. Some starlight has traveled for tens of thousands of years, crossing the void to reach your eyes tonight. You are not seeing stars as they are, but as they were shimmering postcards sent from the past. Even within the solar system, these delays whisper of distance. Light takes only seconds to bounce between Earth and the Moon, a few minutes to reach Mars, more than half an hour to reach Neptune. Spacecraft on the far edge of the Sun's domain send signals that take hours to arrive, their voices faint and delayed, like echoes from the end of a canyon. To listen to them is to hear the patience of space itself. And yet, despite these delays, light feels immediate. It is steady, dependable, carrying warmth and color wherever it goes. Its photons, though ancient in creation, move with unfailing speed. No matter how far you travel, the pace of light never changes. It is the cosmic constant, the quiet thread tying the universe together. Tonight, you can think of light as more than energy. Think of it as a gentle messenger. Every glow of dawn, every reflection on water, every glimmer of stars is a gift carried across time and distance. You are never truly in darkness, for even the faintest starlight is proof that light endures, always moving, always arriving. As you drift towards sleep, imagine following one photon from the sun's heart to your window. See it struggle through plasma, break free into space, then travel across the black void before finally brushing your skin. Its journey took ages within the star, and mere minutes across the sky, all so that you might feel a moment of warmth. Light is patient, light is constant, and light is always on its way. The sun does not simply shine with steady light. It breathes in cycles, sings in vibrations, and stirs with storms. Every 11 years, its magnetic field flips, north becoming south, and south becoming north. With this cycle comes change. Sunspots multiply, solar flares erupt, and streams of charged particles surge into space. This is the solar maximum, a time when the star feels most alive, when its surface ripples with restless activity. Then, just as slowly, it calms again, easing into solar minimum, its face smoother and quieter. It is a rhythm older than history, a magnetic heartbeat that continues without pause. Within these cycles are songs too low for us to hear. Pressure waves ripple through the sun's plasma, resonating like notes played on an enormous instrument. Astronomers study these vibrations through helioseismology, tracing their movements to map the star's hidden interior. You might imagine the sun as a vast cathedral bell, ringing with deep tones that carry across space. Though you cannot hear them, their music surrounds you every moment of every day. a background lullaby of fire and resonance. And then there are the storms. Solar flares and coronal mass ejections burst outward with the force of billions of nuclear bombs. When these storms reach Earth, they can disturb satellites, disrupt communications, and stir currents in our power grids. But they also paint the skies with auroras, rippling curtains of green, red, and violet that dance above the poles. These lights are Earth's way of answering the sun's storms with beauty, transforming danger into wonder. To lie beneath an aurora is to feel the solar system breathing around you, the sun and Earth sharing a quiet, colorful dialogue. The storms are fierce, yet they pass. The cycles are steady, yet they turn. The songs are constant, yet they hum just below the edge of hearing. Together, they remind us that the sun is not a static lamp, but a living star, dynamic and ever-changing. And still, through all this, its light reaches you without fail, warming your skin, guiding your days, and filling your nights with reflected glow. As you drift into rest tonight, you can think of these cycles, songs and storms, not as noise, but as rhythm. The sun hums with patterns that have carried Earth through countless ages. It breathes slowly, it sings softly, and even when it storms, it leaves behind light and color. In its quiet constancy and its subtle change, it mirrors your own body, your breath rising and falling, your heartbeat steady, your dreams shifting in gentle waves. Leaving the solar system is not a leap, but a long, patient drift. The sun's gravity holds tightly, and to escape it requires decades of steady motion. The first to succeed were the Voyager spacecraft, launched in the late 1970s. They traveled outward at more than 60,000 kilometers per hour, crossing the orbits of the planets one by one, each flyby giving them a gentle push toward the edge. For over 40 years they have been moving outward, and only now have they passed into true interstellar space, beyond the sun's protective bubble, known as the heliopause. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are not just machines, they are messengers. Each carries a golden record, a time capsule etched with music, sounds of nature, greetings in dozens of languages, and images of life on Earth. It is a message in a bottle cast into the ocean of the galaxy. Perhaps no one will ever find it, or perhaps, one distant day, another intelligence will play its grooves and hear the laughter of children, the sound of waves, the heartbeat of our small blue planet. In this way, the Voyagers carry not only data, but dreams. And even as they leave, they still whisper back to us. Their faint signals take more than 20 hours to reach Earth, crossing billions of kilometers of empty space. Those signals tell us of cosmic rays, of magnetic fields, of the density of interstellar plasma. They are not loud reports but quiet letters, faint and delayed, as though the universe itself were speaking slowly, carefully, so that we could hear. Beyond the Voyagers, other probes will follow. Perhaps one day, humanity will send new craft with faster engines, or even crewed missions into the interstellar dark. But for now, these two small spacecraft are our only ambassadors. They drift gently, powered by tiny nuclear batteries, carrying within them the story of Earth and the steady hum of our sun fading behind them. As you imagine this journey tonight, think of yourself riding alongside them. You pass through the outer planets, the Kuiper Belt, and the scattered icy worlds. You move past the heliopause, where the sun's influence wanes, and enter the quiet sea between stars. Behind you, the solar system glows faintly, a lantern shrinking into distance. Ahead of you lies silence, vast and endless, waiting. And in that silence, there is no rush, only calm, only rest.